question, you don't have to answer now, but think about it before class is over with. I don't have anything after this subject that I want to look at. If there's something you guys want to look at, let me know. And is that something we can come up with something for next week, or do you want me just to find something? Is there something anybody really wants to look at? Yes, sir.
Actually, this might be a better way to do it. The significance of Halloween and Reformation.
I just heard the history of Halloween on the radio because somebody must have had that same question, whatever. I'm not going to get the whole thing right because I don't remember all that stuff, but basically it was, I know it's a why, I don't want to say a wise tale, but it's just a saying or whatever it was, and I'll tell you later. I'm just not right on my words. I don't know the answer to that question. Yeah. It's there's another holiday after the era. Yeah. So, but I know it dealt with a candle where the jack-o'-lantern, the question was where the jack-o'-lantern came from. And it was a candle that was put in I want to say a gourd, but that's not a yam or whatever it was the guy carried around. And yeah, so and his name was Jack. So that's where they come up. I don't know if that's true or not, but it kind of made me giggle. So. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question about what you just asked. So I'll be the first one to tell you when I don't know something. So I know nothing. So let's put it that way. But I did hear then whatever's after the 31st and November 1st is another celebrated day okay. So, and I'm not sure what that even is. So. It's all you do is look on your calendar in your phone. It's got all these blue dots all over the calendar, and I don't know what half of those things are. I've never heard of them before, so. Okay. So, let's get into anger.
Anger?
Yes. What's that? I don't know what this means. Okay, sorry. I don't do the thing either, so. I know what you meant now, so sorry about that. So. Well, I feel a lot safer up here than I do back there, so. Okay, when I put this together, we made our trip down to Des Moines for the doctor's appointment, little accident on the interstate coming back. We had to get off because our lanes weren't moving anymore. We got to Ankeny and it's like Rogers Corner, First Street or Avenue or whatever it is. We just got past that and then it's like, we're not going anywhere. So we ended up in some little town. I could look it up on the map and Elkhart, there we go. And had some little sports bar thing we went to because it's the only thing in town and we got ourselves, I got a tenderloin that was sweet. So little side advertisement for those people. The people were really nice there and stuff. So, but anyway, I got home and I was working on this again and I was on. It's like, I'm good to go. This is golden. Where's the class? We're ready to go. You guys should have been at my kitchen table last night about 9:30 because it was happening. We'll see where it goes. As humans, I'm just going to make this statement, and it's a broad statement and may leave people out that might have more control than most other people do. As humans, somewhere along in our life, we get angry at someone, something, somebody, some organization, something. Maybe it's a lot of times it's out of our control. Sometimes it's something that somebody did that did something they weren't supposed to, and whatever idea you can think of, it makes people angry. Are we in agreement on that? Has anybody in here never been angry before? Gene, have you been angry before? Ooh, Russ? At Russ? Oh, not at Russ. Just wait till we get home, that's all. So, for you people that are baseball followers or sports followers, and you didn't have to play sports, or you don't have to play it now, but you just hear these horror stories about these poor referees that are getting in the business. You know, you start out, maybe you're doing a junior high softball game or a high school game, and you work your way up, and there's classes, there's schools you can go to be a referee and an umpire and all that kind of stuff. It says that 70% of the people quit in the first 3 years. Why do you think that is? Their parents and the other the coaches, right? I've been in both spots on that. I even umpired a girls' softball game one time, and all I asked the girl in front of me, the catcher, was, "Can you at least slow them down a little bit, the ball?" Because they weren't stopping the ball, and I didn't have any gear. They gave me a face mask, and that's all I had. I was trying to do the ostrich thing because they already hit me in this shin once, and I ran out of legs. So that was a long day. But parents, why are we just the way we are? Why do we get mad at the guy that makes the call? You think they made the wrong call, right? Sometimes. Okay, but why? I mean, why? What's the reason why we do that? This is just a general reason. Why do you think people get mad at that?
Yeah, it might be because it might be the fact that we're overprotective of our kids. We want to see them do well. And when they don't, even with have nothing to do with the ref, we blame the ref.
Okay, we got expectations, right? And apparently they're not met somehow. What's that? Okay. Sometimes they just make the wrong call, don't they? So I don't have to ask the question, who in here wants to be a referee? Apparently, if you would have wanted to do that, you would have done it by now. I don't remember as a kid growing up that there was that issue. I mean, there was some, but there wasn't as, so I'm not sure if I can't even say it's a generational thing, but.
Oh, so my kids, they're probably, I'm not gonna say something, you're the one who took you out.
Yeah. What are you gonna do anyway, right?
Yeah, what am I gonna do about it?
Okay.
Really, you know, we try to take control of the game. You know, all that. Every time not just a game. That's with our kids that are just playing out fun. We take it more seriously. We're not being like a spectator less. I just take it to the game, go out, play, I'll watch them play. When they're done, I'll come on the fun, it's a good game. When we go home. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be about.
There you go.
We're having a good time. Go out there and shake hands with one another. We as a parent take it too far to get the person. But we want our kids to be successful.
Okay. Let's look in Ephesians 4:26 and 27. Get this ball rolling here. Ephesians 4, verse 26 and 27. In your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold. So in your anger, what are you not supposed to do? So yelling at that referee, would that be considered a wrong?
They angry, we got yelling, scared, like calling to the things. What's your opinion by having a simple conversation?
You can be angry and still keep your emotions in control.
You know, angry because
If you lose your cool, I mean, you just lose it, then you have gone. You can be angry if you have a righteous reason for being angry.
Do not skip ahead about 4 or 5 verses here, but no, you're fine. I'm just gonna jump to the chase on this in case we get into a conversation that leads us to where I can't stop it. That's the difference. There's 2 things to look at. If somebody wrongs you, I mean, you got expectations and you think you've been wronged and you get angry about it or whatever happens. That's not good. That's the one you got to walk away from and just let it go. But we're going to see later on that after you let it go and you go home and you're laying in bed and those thoughts are going through your head and you're stewing about it thinking, how am I going to get back at him? Or I should have said this because it would have made my point of what I think it should have been. That's another, and that deals with, I believe that's what they're talking about when you let that go down, when the sun goes down, you've given it a chance to grow into something more than it should have been. If somebody wrongs you, I mean, kicks your cat or whatever, I mean, something that's not physically, like your kids don't get hurt and that kind of thing. If somebody said something and it kind of irked you the wrong way or whatever, is it worth getting in a fight over? Is it worth going home and just stewing, waiting to figure out how you're going to get back at them? Or is that something we should be spending our time on?
I think that helps us because it's not good. It's not good for your mental state. It's not good for your health. I mean, being stewing like that all the time can affect your health physically.
Hurt your heart, blood pressure.
Blood pressure, stomach acid, all that.
Yep.
Stuff. But the most important part is where it goes down into 3.
Don't say 31, 32, or 33. Uh-oh.
Verse 30, it says, don't read your report. You were sealed by him for the day of redemption. So don't be acting like that because you belong to God, and that's a direct reflection on God and the Holy Spirit, who has already sealed you as one of God's children, and now you're acting out like this. And
if we get to enough of these verses, we're going to see that several times where Jesus confronted people. And what's the reason and we should be that way too. If we're supposed to be Christ-like, he confronted people. He was angry with them because they weren't doing, I want to say, the righteous thing. They weren't doing godly things. They were doing things that looked like godly things, but they had other reasons why they were doing it. That's the kind of stuff that he got angry about, because it's God's stuff, and he was correcting the God stuff that was wrong. And I think from looking at this, that's what we're supposed to be about too. We can be angry about people teaching other people the wrong thing that's blatantly wrong, or accepting things that are blatantly wrong, saying it's okay, and it's not. Dave's got his looking at me, he's thinking. So there's ways we look at things, which is human, but we should be looking at them at the way Jesus looked and the way God looks at things, okay?
in a sense, we have a brand. After we were baptized, we were branded, which, the Holy Spirit. We were sealed by the Holy Spirit for God as a child of God. So if you're messing up the brand, then you're misrepresenting the product. And that's that way what you think of, like food or whatever, if somebody tries to replicate a brand of something in that, but then they put out a whole different product, that's the same thing. We're messing up the brand that we've been given as a child of God.
There's verses coming up. It talks about religion, the way we worship God. And if you do it in the wrong way, you're pretty much wasting your time. You might as well not do it in the first place because it's not acceptable. Thoughts? No, you're fine. Sam's thinking. Dave's still pondering. That's okay. So there was the, look in James 4, 1 through 10. Wait, I'm sorry. We skipped way too far down here. Ephesians 4:29, that's where we're at. We just read, it says, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs. It may benefit those who listen. And do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, with whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. Get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, brawling, and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as Christ God forgave you. Now, if you're angry at somebody, here's a helpful way to look at this. How should we behave? How should we react? Okay. Is that a big one?
That's amazing. I just talked to the side of the other Sunday. You know that you were there.
Yeah.
That's a laugh.
I told him I went out of 2 states so I wouldn't hear him. I went 2 states away so I couldn't have to listen to it. I'm gonna, yeah. Touche, right?
Love you, brother.
So, forgiveness. I'm sure Miss Ellie's not going to respond. But has God forgiven you? And this is something we should do for other people also, right? Because we were forgiven. Now, looking at that wrong that may have been in your head when we started this, is it something that's forgivable? Class is over. No, I was just kidding. No, not yet. Dave's.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna jump in.
Jump in.
Starting at 25, speaking the truth. Nobody speaking false. And telling me sometimes when you speak the truth to somebody.
But how does Jesus respond to that? If they get mad, they're not getting mad at you. They're getting mad at, yeah. Yep. That's comforting to know that they're not mad at you. They're mad at the truth that and it's not yours. It's God supplies this information. So you're just sharing it with other people. So, okay.
I was not, and now I got my wife asking me. I'll continue my thought. Yeah, because we're all members of one body, and we're supposed to be honest with one another. I'm doing that out of, talk about speaking truth out of love. You're doing that out of love, but you change that. You do that with your kids, you do that with people you love, and you see a incorrect behavior in a person, you tell them because you love them, you try to correct them. Sometimes that behavior makes me angry. I've been angry at some of my family members, and that sharp tongue. When I was a little younger, I was more quick to anger and sharp tongue type of stuff to try to correct that behavior. I've learned over a lifetime that isn't probably the best approach. I get angry, gentle, and speak encouraging words to them. Try to be helpful with that without the sharp tongue, without the anger coming out, even though I can get angry about knothead. What were you thinking?
Yeah, when you use the term knothead, it's hard to think you're building somebody up. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you knew me in my younger days,
Well, and I knew what you meant when you do that. That'd be a compliment saying, but there's difference. When you correct somebody, if you're doing it because you want to make sure it betters them or keeps them from danger, That's why you're doing it. You're not doing it because you did wrong, and I'm going to point that out. Yeah, and that's like overstating it, but it's a fine line there of people realizing that you're doing it because you care for them, or you think that Jesus forgave you, so you need to forgive them, and that's how that all works. But it's easy to write it down and say it, but doing it and accomplishing that is sometimes not as easy as it seems to be. So, but we keep doing it though, right? Try to do it the right way. You with us, Ella? Okay. I'm not meaning to pick on you. I just haven't seen you for a while. So, were you here Sunday for the preacher guy? Oh, funny you picked on me. You didn't pick her out. So.
I wasn't a preacher, you could be, I was a teacher.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just the teacher, not the preacher. Okay. So in that section we just read, there's the don't do's and I don't want to say the word do, the ones you're supposed to do. So we've talked a couple weeks ago about there's generally something that's negative gets replaced by something that's positive. Okay, like if there's something wrong, there's always something right that takes its place when you get rid of the wrong.
What's the difference between tough love and love? Did you miss something? What's the question? What's the difference between tough love and love? Think about it.
This is where
You
you
gotta
said,
do something.
I haven't studied that. I'll get back to you.
No.
I have an answer for you, but you're getting us off track, and I'm not going to allow that to happen tonight. So. Because I'm the teacher tonight, not you. So. That's an example of tough love, right there. Yeah. We talked about the two reasons expectations weren't met, and then God has a purpose. He has a purpose for us. He has a purpose for his kingdom. And if those purposes or purpose isn't being fulfilled in the right way or being fulfilled, that's where you can look in the Bible and see how Jesus handled people. They were we won't look at it because this is way off track, but the clearing of the temple, he got angry, right?
Oh, yes.
And what was his purpose? Was he mad at the people that were there? Was he mad at what they were doing? Was he mad for the reason they were doing it? Were they mad? Was he mad because it wasn't allowing the Gentiles to have their area? But pick one, I guess. So there's a lot of things going on there, wasn't there? And I don't think in my mind, I don't know for a fact, but I don't believe that this was the first time it happened. I meant the misuse of the area in the temple for what they were doing. It was an ongoing situation. So.
Jeremiah or Ezekiel, the adaptation of people who were misusing the temple, and also somebody after the return of the exile, they had a son-in-law of the Samaritan priest that's living in one of the empty rooms in the temple. Kick them all out.
I don't know the answer to this, but who's supposed to police the temple? So where were they at? I don't know. I mean, it could be. I don't know. It just.
Again, I'm trying to remember the details of this story. I know I have part of it wrong, but I remember the people weren't paying their tithes, so there's no money to pay the Gentiles. So the Levites. So they were out finding jobs so they could support their family. When they got the people to start paying their time, there was money to take care of.
Okay, thank you, I didn't know that, I mean,
That's what my memory says.
The justice that Jesus was angry about, the injustice, I should say, was the taking advantage of the weak and the poor. And his anger was rightly was rightly placed in that temple that was his father's house. And so I'm curious how you would call our modern day reaction of anger to an unjust situation that clearly resembles Jesus and his interpretation of what was going on with the Pharisees, you know, and making the money on the leasing the money to the money changers and, you know, cheating the poor.
yeah, some people didn't have any money to purchase things that they were supposed to, so. I don't know how they handle that situation.
No, but I'm asking you
For
about
today's
the
times,
situation.
how would we handle something like that? As a family, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying, I'm asking you how you would handle an angry reaction to something that is in modern day unfair.
I need help. Anybody? I'm not ignoring you. I'm just thinking in my head, that's a wide open question, wide open possibilities.
So.
I guess I'm not sure how,
Let me ask you this way.
okay?
There's I think anger is a suitable reaction in some cases. That's all.
Yeah.
In the Old Testament time, in Jesus' time, the temple was a holy, sacred, sanctified place. They were supposed to treat it with reverence and care. Setting up a business in there and running animals in there and all that stuff was not doing that. In our day and age, there are no holy, sacred, sanctified buildings. None. But the only building we have to worry about is this one right here. The body we've been given. If somebody is mistreating the body, we have the right to become righteously angry about they're treating themselves that way or they're treating some other individual that way. That's the closest parallel I can come up with. Do I have a right to be angry? Yeah.
It deals with God's purpose.
Yeah.
What's God's purpose?
How you handle anger, you know, is what makes us sinner not. You know, be angry, I can be upset you're not teaching right. I don't like what you're teaching, but if I go up and I start causing pain, you start yelling back at me. That's simple. Start cursing at me, yelling at me, whether I say, well, I'm sorry, I'm not, okay, well, how would you teach? Communication is a virtue I teach a lot. That's what it is. Communication. If you cannot communicate, you're not going to be successful. Anger, you can talk about your anger problem, and your anger is out by communicating with other people, talking about them. Now, if you react in anger, you take that anger, you use that physically, verbally, mentally, to abuse. Because, you know, simple, you're using it simply, a simple way, you're not using it in respectful. I have a right to be, to not like what you're doing, but also have you also have the right to react to that in a respectful way, like I have. I need to react in a respectful way to my neighbor, not just yell at you, and scream at you. It's when we use that anger in a defensive way, that's what makes it simple. That's
Okay.
all right.
Well, my looking at this, not that I disagree with you, but I'm going to try to simplify it more than that. Our anger is okay if it's directed towards a misuse or an abuse of anything that's whatever God's purpose is. Okay, if someone's mistreating Sam, abusing him or belittled him or lying about him or whatever, then we can be angry about that situation and do something about it. But we have to keep in mind at the end of the day that whatever happens, we forgive that person because we were forgiven. So with that said, and then the things, if we look at things that make us angry, is there anything we can do about it? Or is it something that we expected to be different and it didn't turn out the way we wanted it to? And we get angry about that, then that's stuff we shouldn't get mad about that because we had expectations that weren't met. That's the human side of it. I mean, and if you stay away from that stuff, then the God purpose stuff, if you put your effort towards that, the other stuff doesn't seem to come into play, doesn't really matter as much. Is this making, I don't want to say this, my wife says, you ask this question like it belittles people. I'm just asking, is this making sense or is there some other way we have to look at this? Is this?
I think we have to be careful. I mean, just think what he's going through, and he's trying to teach these people, and he's trying to teach them love and forgiveness, and these people that are in this temple know better. I mean, he's been around these people his whole life, you know, and they know what's what. And he was just so infuriated because he was human. I mean, this was the temple, you know, where his father is supposed to be. And these people are in here just turning it into like cattle congress, you know, with animals and money and everything. So I think we kind of step off the boat a little bit when we're trying to justify or simplify saying, well, you know, he had righteous anger. He was just mad. He was just mad at their behavior and what they were doing and that they knew better, that they shouldn't have been doing that. And he was just trying to tell them, I have been telling you people and telling you people what I'm here for, what's going on, and now you're doing this. You know, he was just flat out mad. And this, not only because he is the Son of God, but he said he was a human. And I get mad at people because I think they should know better than what they're doing, you know? That's one thing that's really one of my angst is they should know better than that.
Okay, so you're mad at this person, you got your anger, I'm gonna say the word anger, that's the word we're using. Now, when you go to bed, are you still mad about it? Or are you just kind of, it's at the time it's done? That's the thing we need to worry about, not carrying this thing, because it talks about, don't go to bed. Correct.
That's Jesus. He's teaching that. He can't go, all right, these people are really on my list, but this is not what you need. He can't. He had already forgiven them, but he had to show them that just how awful they were acting, you know?
At that time, at that time in history and where he was at, he hasn't gone to the cross yet. Is this all they had to deal with is how they knew God, right? I mean, this was the place. And they like Sam was saying, we don't have that now I mean, some people think there's something special about this building. I think it's special because we all meet here. That's as far as I go with that. I mean, a lot of memories here, but if this burnt down tonight, we could go get another building somewhere else. And no, I'm just smelling smoke. No. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference. So that's all they had. And I think part of the reason he was, and I don't want to, the class isn't about why Jesus was mad. It is because people were doing things that they were using things that weren't intended for, treating people the way they shouldn't be treated. Because this area they had, that was for the Gentile guys, right? I mean, that was their spot. And they're taking up their spot. And I was doing a little reading, and it talks about Mark and how it says how animals were traced through there, and it wasn't mentioned anywhere else. So I don't know. I'm not sure why that would be included in Mark and it wasn't in the rest, unless it's just a little more insight in the thing, how severe this issue was. It talked about how they were tracing animals through there, using it as a shortcut.
Yeah,
So-
I think he's upset over the fact that he's using it as a shortcut as
So he had a lot to deal with, and he had people that he knew that should have known better, and they were the ones that were planning to kill him too.
well. I think they were reasoning about this very much like we reason about a lot of things. God will forgive me for this because it's not a huge deal. But it became a huge deal when everybody said it.
Okay, and it didn't happen, I don't think it happened overnight. I know we won't get to it because I'm not very good at staying on track, but it keeps going back to the thought of don't go to bed with this anger. You know, this sin it starts out as a little thing. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. And it deals with the thought of, on more of the, what's the word I'm trying to think of the religious stuff, the godly stuff, the stuff you can't see is what you're dealing with when you take this home with you and go to sleep on it instead of dealing with it. Because it can snowball. There's stuff we can't see that goes on. Yeah, I'm messing this all up. Spiritual things, that's what I was trying to think of. That's the takeaway I got from some of this is we've got the bodily thing. Dave wrongs me. I can see that he wronged me. I'm going to deal with it. I can get mad. Or I can just say I forgive him, and that's what I should do. Okay, we deal with that. I forgive him. We go on. If not, I go home. I think about it, and who's the person or the being that talks in your head all the time that says, "I'm not letting Engel get the best of me. I don't care. I know I can fish better than he can, and I'm going to prove it." And so by not dealing with it at the time, I think they're talking that the longer you wait, the worse it's going to be. The worse it can get. That worse. So it's kind of, they talk about like a building block, like it starts out little. It just keeps, there's more weight, there's more anger, and it just keeps brewing. And you end up doing something that it got way out of proportion. Has anybody ever been in that situation where something wasn't handled right away and it went on for days and weeks? Maybe it went on for generations.
Absolutely.
Why were they fighting? Nobody knows. About a goat or something, I think is what it was, or a cow or something. I don't know. But we had, I'm sorry.
We, as Christians, need to point, be able to let things go and understand that God can take it. And just give it to His hands. And it's easier to get rid of that anger when you do that. And I agree with you with it says to be angry. So there are times when you should be angry.
Yes.
It should be spiritual things.
Yes.
The fact that my tires didn't get rotated or whatever, like I wanted to, because that, in the big picture, doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It has zero emphasis on your spiritual eternal life. But there are some things, I get angry at preachers who talk about God is here to just make you rich. You believe in God, you're going to get wrong. But that just rubs me wrong because that isn't the God I know. So that's a spiritual anger. But if I hold on to that, then it's going to start affecting me. I have to say, God, I see this is wrong, and do what I can about it, but you're gonna be able to take care of this. And when we can give it to God, and let him understand that he will take care of it, then we don't have to. We can let go of that anger. And I hope that a lot of people have gotten to that point in their life, that they can just let it go and understand God, take care of it. He's a big boy.
And in my notes, it talks about the difference between our abilities and God's abilities. Our human abilities are flawed. We don't have the capability that God does to handle things. No, that's perfect. I knew when I did this, and last night I was finishing up, I said, I wish I could do this class right now and just do it like a sermon and no feedback, just go. But I don't like that. Not in a Bible class. I just don't think that's, I want to know what you guys are thinking or where you're at, and if we can discuss things that help you, because if I can give you this tablet and you go home and look at it, you know, it talks about the knowledge. If you get the knowledge, you know, so what? If you don't use it, then you might as well, you're just wasting your time. A lot of the stuff in the Bible, it references back. If you know it and you don't do it, what do you know it in the first place for? It's just a waste. So.
And we're all individually responsible for it. If we don't forgive, hopefully they're gonna forgive us. We forgive for us. And we forgive God, us.
Okay. What was the order on God's forgiveness? Did we forgive first? Who forgave us first? God forgave us first. Yeah, no, I know you know that, yeah. Yep. And that's why we forgive other people.
It's not my problem that they can't forgive me, but God said you got to forgive. God will judge him. I can judge you.
Okay.
So I think I gotta make sure I'm right with God. You have to be right with God. So, you know, Dave's taught that very well. You gotta worry about your own spiritual.
Yep.
What about your spiritual, your child.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be handy for some people to have, maybe a grandpa that was real religious and he could, you know, take care of what you need to know, and he'd tell you what you need to know, and you know, he did good, so his whole family's going to be saved, and everybody's, you know, God's going to, you know, show favor on his whole family because he was such a good guy. And then on the other hand, you might have a grandfather or parents or something that didn't know anything about God, and you take a ride on their shirt tail. You're going to all go in the same place.
You know, our kids are little big fire, do something, you take them and say, sorry, that just was more than they could do, you know? And it's funny that little kids even have that animosity that I'm gonna get you back kind of thing. I don't know when that starts, but, you know, we're like that a lot of times. Okay, I'm sorry, all right, but then you're still.
You mean we're, me and you, or we're?
No, as adults.
Oh, okay, I was just checking. I'm just testing the waters. So I did tell him at the doctor's office yesterday, I don't feel safe at home sometimes. So I just. So on this anger thing, I'm just going to wrap this up. I know it. I even rewrote it. On anger, first thing to do is ask yourself, is it about me? Not me, you, me. Okay? It's kind of a process. So that kind of, it'll tell you, it'll give you the answer whether it's a you thing, that you feel like you were wronged, you were shorted, you were slighted, it's a personal thing, or maybe somebody didn't do something that you expected. Okay, your expectations weren't met. Or is it a God situation? There's examples in the Bible, and I had looked at some of these verses, and I'm thinking, how does that fit? You know, it's supposed to be in that dealing with anger, but it's examples of how Jesus handled people. And a lot of times it dealt with, he wasn't by himself, he was an example to other people, the people that followed him, okay? On how they should handle things. When it comes to God things, there's no exceptions. Okay? And he made that point. And the thing is, a lot of times it was not the idea that they were doing wrong, but it's the people that were doing the wrong were bringing other people into the wrong too. So it was multiplying the wrongness. I don't know if you want to say that. It was affecting other people, not just the people that had been wrong. And then remember that God forgave you first. So whatever you're angry about, or somebody you think they wronged you and all that stuff, you got to forgive them, okay? Does that sum that up good enough?
Anger is a close cousin of pride. Pride has a lot to do with anger. Because if your feelings like it's up here, it's about you, it's not about.
So it falls in the selfish category, that there's a lot of bad roads you can go down of when you're selfish. So it's about all I have. Ephesians 4:31-32 talks about forgiving. And if you slip down to chapter 5, verse 1 and 2, it talks about love and about who loved you first, and that whole theory. We'd talked about that before. So those are two good things: forgiveness and love. And don't be angry anymore. Okay, back row. Anybody got any subjects for next week? If not, I'm just going to do like I used to pay bills, throw a few ideas in a hat and pull it out. And then when I run out of ideas, we'll figure something else out. So is there some direction we want to go?
I have a question. Should we celebrate the holidays? Should we celebrate national holidays? Christmas?
My question is that answer in the Bible? So you already know the answer. So is it a long class thing, or is it something that's going to take me it's going to take 2 weeks for me to figure out that answer? I used to work with a guy that his wife's religion, they didn't celebrate anything, birthdays, holidays. We had potlucks at work just at the end of the quarter, at the end of the summer thing or whatever. So everybody bring food in and stuff. And I told him we're not really celebrating anything. We all like to eat. Because I just asked him, and I wasn't trying to push my thought process on him, but I says, you're going to eat, aren't you? Yeah. I says, well, do you want to come eat with us? Oh, yeah. And I says, we're not really, it's not really, I'm not trying to sway that, but my wife mentioned that today. There was she used a group of people or whatever. They don't celebrate things like holidays and that kind of thing. So, and is that a religious thing that's in the Bible? I don't know. So Dan better go home and start looking, huh? And if I don't find an answer, what are we going to do? You'll text me the answer.
You can lose track of where you're going, but like you did this week.
I think we stayed on track of what we were supposed to talk about, but I wanted to make sure we understand that we need to recognize what the anger is. If we get mad and if we're angry, why are we getting angry? Okay. Prayer. Now that we can do. Your name comes up in our prayers quite a bit, Sandy. I said, your name comes up at our house quite often. So it's good stuff though. Yeah. Prayer. You want to do power of prayer? Okay. Because I think that would be like love. There's a lot of different facets of, huh?
You can spend 3 weeks on that.
Well, I did 2 times and it didn't even cover all the stuff that's, I didn't hear what you said. Did we have one in the Giddings section there that had, oh, I thought there was,
She's talking about siblings,
oh,
that's because your siblings go through one with that.
oh,
Talking to your sibling.
that's because they're siblings. I think that's part of it, so.
They're really close together too often.
Any other ones? Not like that's not enough to get started on, but. Did you have a comment in the back? I missed you when we got going this way. Do you have anything else you wanted to?
What we observe.
Okay,
There's a lot of history there, and it's getting weirder and weirder. People spend almost time,
okay. So I'm just gonna put right down Halloween on there. Well, that hits a lot of the holidays, doesn't it, anymore? It all happens sooner, you know? It's like the seasons, there's my big, nice store that I get to visit at least once a week is Menards for work. I mean, at least would be the lowest I'd be there. They took the whole section out and put Halloween stuff in there, and then the middle section where all the girls are at, they're gone. That's full of Christmas trees already. It's not even, it wasn't even Halloween yet. I thought it was a law. You couldn't do anything for Christmas until after Thanksgiving. Isn't that like a? Yeah, it's way too early, so. If it should be there at all, right? That's the question, so, okay.
Santa, you just rearrange the letters.
Thank you for your comments. Keith, expect a little more out of you next week.
But he never gets angry, so this subject. Yeah. Yeah. Why? Like Keith.